But first, let's go over a few housekeeping items. To ensure an optimal viewing experience, we recommend turning off your pop-up blocker. If you run into any issues or if you have a question for our speaker, use the Q&A box and we'll respond right away. Be sure to check out the speaker. Cyrus Shepard is an SEO consultant currently working with Moz. His company, Zippy, builds SEO software. He loves studying Google's algorithm and, over the years, has published dozens of SEO experiments and ranking factor studies. Today, Cyrus will discuss advanced title tag optimization for SEO geeks. Take it away, Cyrus.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. I am so excited to be here. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite topics, advanced title tag optimization for SEO geeks. Now, whether you are an advanced SEO or you're a beginner SEO, I hope you're going to get something out of today's presentation. I've been obsessed with title tags for 10 years, and it's one of my favorite. I'll be honest with you, I don't do a lot of webinars. I don't enjoy putting decks together, but I had a lot of fun with this one. And before we dive in, one final thing, we only have 30 minutes today. That's not a lot of time to cover this huge topic, so things are going to go quickly. If something goes a little too fast, go ahead and ask a question or hit me up on Twitter afterwards, and we'll try to cover everything in a good manner. So since you signed up today, you must be interested in the topic, I'm hoping. But the big question that I want to answer is why you should love title tags. When I talk about title tags, a lot of my colleagues think I'm crazy because they think, aren't title tags for beginners? And I think because of that perception that title tags are for beginners, that people think, oh, we're good at it already. We know how to optimize title tags, and they sort of set it and forget it. But I don't think that's the right approach. Here's why I think we should all love title tags a little bit more. First of all, they are the first thing that everybody sees. People may ignore your content, they may skim over it, they may ignore your meta description, your breadcrumbs, whatever. But everybody, when they do a Google search, they see your title tag is the number one decision, the number one thing they look at when making a decision on whether or not to click on your results. Secondly, they are a ranking factor. They're an actual Google ranking factor. At least they used to be, to our knowledge. And we've been studying the correlation of title tag signals to rankings over the years. Over the years, the correlations have decreased, but we still believe that they're an actual factor. But even if they aren't an actual Google ranking factor, they still influence click-through rate. So no matter what you do, the title tag, more than any other element that displays in the SERPs, influences whether or not people are going to click your result more than anything else. And small changes in the title tag can make huge changes in traffic even without any ranking change. So lever-wise, it's a huge lever that you can pull with, sometimes pretty big ROI. And it's hard to find elements in SEO like that sometimes. I also love title tags because they are a perfect mix between science and psychology. Sometimes your title tag may not help you rank, but if you can trigger people and hook them and entice them into clicking, it's a great mix. So the mix of psychology and science is also attractive. And finally, title tags are super easy to test. You can change your title tag, go to Google Search Console, recrawl, reindex the URL, and see the changes in Google search results, sometimes within minutes. And then you can look at your analytics over the course of the next few days and see if it had an effect. And also, if things don't work out, you can easily change your title tag back. So title tags are probably one of the easiest things in SEO to test and work with. And these are the reasons that I've been obsessed with title tags for all this time. So why should you listen to me about title tags? Well, aside from everything we've already talked about, if you go to Google and you type in title tag, the first result, I wrote that title tag. So I wrote the title tag for the title tag result, number one title tag result in Google. Now, I didn't create all the content on that page. Dr. Pete and many other people developed it. Also, if you Google SEO, I wrote the title tag for that result too. Brittany Muller, The Beginner's Guide to SEO. So I do have some title tag credentials that I hope are good enough for you to listen to what I have to say. And one thing that I like to do when working with any site, I usually do some sort of title tag audit. I over the years, I have never seen a site, never encountered a site where improving title tags did not lead to an increase in traffic. Generally, almost any site that I've ever seen, you can expect gains of 5 to 20% after doing a title tag audit, implementing recommendations. And I think that's huge when you think of how many links you would have to build to get that sort of lift, or how much work you can do in other areas. But the key is you have to follow the right process. You can't just go nilly-willy changing your title tags. You have to follow a specific process to get the right result. And we're going to talk about exactly what this process is as we move along in these slides. So, title tags 101. This is what you learn in the beginning. This is what they teach you when you first start doing SEO. You probably learned something similar when you first started working. Title tags are the very first thing you change. Google talks about it in their guide to SEO. And so these are the general things you learn when you're just starting out. So we're creating a title. We know that we only want one title per page. That the title should be relatively short, 50 to 60 characters. The title should be unique, meaning it shouldn't be a duplicate of other titles on your site. Everyone should be different and have unique value. We know that we want to use keywords in our title, but not too many. So avoid keyword stuffing. We also know that we want to write something compelling, something to entice people to click. Google has this example: Brandon's baseball card, buy cards, baseball news, card prices. All right, so that's what most people do. They sort of get good at that, and they say, hey, we understand how to write title tags. So I have my own rules for writing title tags, for writing compelling titles. These are my Cyrus's rules for writing clickable, compelling titles that get you higher rankings and traffic. And you can remember this with the acronym NPR. NPR standing for National Public Radio. Here in the United States, it's an excellent service that we should all support. So NPR stands for, oh shoot, doesn't look like the slide came through on this one, but I'll just tell you what it is. N stands for noticeable, P stands for promising, and R stands for relevant. Noticeable, promising, relevant. Now, if you're British and you're not familiar with NPR, you can also use the acronym BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. And the BBC in this instance stands for, B stands for noticeable, B stands for promising, and C stands for relevant. That joke works a lot better when it's actually in the slide. So insert your own humor here. We're supposed to have lots of laughs, but we're just going to keep continuing. But more importantly than knowing what they are, let me give you actual demonstrations of what we're doing. So noticeable, here's a Google search result for best time to visit Europe, or when to visit Europe. And if we look at these results, I have to admit they're a little uninspiring. They're all basically the same. Best time to visit Europe, best time to visit Europe, best time to travel to Europe. There is nothing noticeable about these results. They're just using the keyword. There's nothing enticing you to click. There's nothing to differentiate one of these results from any other result. If I go here's the keyword for mattress reviews. Very competitive SERP. In the top ranking position, we have Consumer Reports. Very hard to knock Consumer Reports off. And they have a title tag that's Mattress My Guide Consumer Reports. A little boring. Beneath them, the Mattress Nerd. Mattress Nerd is working very hard to be noticeable and stand out. #1 trusted mattress review 2020. They're using numbers. Mattress Nerd, and I think they're probably stealing a lot of clicks from Consumer Reports, even though they can't knock them out of the top result. That is an enticing, noticeable title. So props to the Mattress Nerd. Second, promising. Promising is an interesting concept. When a title is promising, it tells you what you should expect when you click. It goes beyond the keyword to promise you something, to satisfy some emotional need. And good titles typically offer this. So here's the SERP again for title tags. All these results have the keywords in title tags, but then they also all have a promise. Title tags, 2020 SEO best practices. So I know if I click that, that's what you're going to be delivering for me. Best practices. Beneath that, Ahrefs. I think Ahrefs actually has the best, most promising title out of all three of these results. The promise is how to craft a perfect SEO title tag. That's a pretty big promise. If I click that one, that's what they are promising to deliver me, the 4-step process. And, I'll even give some props to Neil Patel, how to create search engine friendly title tags. All very good titles there, but they show me what they're going to give me. Now, there are basically 6 emotional needs. Google has an excellent resource, Consumer Insights, Consumer Needs and Behavior. There are 6 kinds of things that you can satisfy with your promise. You can surprise me, you can thrill me, you can impress me, educate me, reassure me, or help me. So your title should try to meet one of those needs. Even if you're selling, blenders, you can try to surprise people, thrill them, impress them. They're not just looking for blenders, they want something extra. They want to why are they searching for blenders? Give them that in the title and you can entice the click. It's hard to do, but you can do it. And finally, probably the most important, relevancy. Relevancy can help your titles be more promising, be more noticeable. This query was for target coupons. The second result, target ads, manufacturer coupons. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not the promise that I want. I want the target promo codes and coupons. That's relevant to my intent and what I'm searching for. It's also promising. It's also noticeable. They got $signs and 10 and everything else. That is going to get 90% of the clicks. And the next one, really, I feel sorry for them. So we want to write some titles. So they're a very classic way to write titles when you're beginning. Most people go through one of these processes. The first method is you exactly copy the page title, the H1. So I write a blog post, how to get more clicks in Google, and then I stick that in my title, and that's it. And a lot of publisher titles, news articles, blogs, things like that. That's exactly the process they follow. For larger sites, e-commerce sites, things like that, there's usually some sort of, when you're working with a CMS, there's a pre-formatted template. So Amazon, you'd have product category sites. So Hamilton Beach 360, blenders, Amazon. Or if you're working on a blog, if you're working on a blog, you'd have, your blog title again with your brand. Patterns and templates are common, but they're also very powerful because if you change the template, you can change your titles across the entire site. You might do some keyword research. It's scary how often people don't do keyword research when crafting titles, and we do this even at Moz all the time. We're writing our blogs, and it's something important we want to get out, but we don't pay attention to what people are actually searching for. And finally, this is the biggest mistake. Once your title is written, never change them. Titles are meant to be changed. Once you publish a title, Google gives you all sorts of data about how people are actually looking for your content and how people are clicking. So titles are meant to be changed. They're the easiest thing in the world to change. So the biggest mistake is not changing your titles when you have an opportunity and a reason to believe that doing so would be beneficial. So this is the classic way of writing titles. I think we can do better. I think we can do better this. And how are we going to do it? With science. Power to science. So here's my recipe for systematic success. This is how I do my title tag audits. And if you follow this, how to win at title tags nearly every single time. So here are the rules. Rule number 1, there are 0 foolproof formulas. I cannot tell you a formula for writing title tags that, hey, put an exclamation point or, format it like this. There are none. It's all experimentation and finding out what works for you and your audience. So the idea is, the second rule, you want to test ideas to find those that yield statistically significant gains. So we're going to take some ideas, we're going to test our hypothesis, and we want to find the biggest, variation that we can possibly find. Rule number 3, collateral damage. there's going to be some unintended consequences are guaranteed. You will never implement a title tag test, rarely, where everything just goes up all the time. You got 80% traffic gains. No, some are going to go up, some are going to go down. It is guaranteed. You cannot predict what's going to happen. But what we can do is we can keep the winners and learn from them. And rule number 5, lose the losers. If you change a title tag and it goes bad, you can always revert it back to the better performing original. So it's a great process. Keep the winners, lose the losers. So the big question is, what are you going to test? Here's where people aren't often imaginative enough, or they try 1 or 2 things and like, yeah, that worked, that didn't work. So I want to talk about some ideas that I want to go over some actual tests that we have performed at Moz, some things that I've learned over time, and hopefully give you some inspiration for some things to test. Now, to do this, there are different things to test. We can test templates that we talked about, product category site. Here's an example from Amazon. We can test changing these sort of templates around. What if we put Amazon at the front of the title tag, Hunger Games at the end, or things like that, or the blog title and the brand? How can we work with this template to switch things up? So that's the first thing we want to test. And to do this, we partnered with the people at SearchPilot. If you're not familiar with SearchPilot, they are an A/B testing platform run by the what is the former agency Distilled, founded by Will Critchlow. They are the gold standard of SEO A/B testing. If you get a chance to use their solution, it's a wonderful solution for testing large scale or even small scale tests. And you can use this for this iterative process to find things that make big results. So it's one of my favorite platforms, and I'm happy to partner with them. So here's one of the first things we experimented with title tags. So if you're familiar with Moz, we have this Q&A. And here's what your basic title tag looks like in the Q&A. Keywords and branded title tags site-wide, SEO Q&A, Moz. So we thought Craig Bradford, one of the consultants, executives, he had this idea. What if we, instead of SEO Q&A, what if we put the number of responses in the title tags? Would that make it more clickable, more compelling? So it looks like we replace the SEO Q&A and we see how many responses are in the question and we test that. So we roll this out across hundreds of URLs. We do some scientific math that the platform handles for us so we don't have to think about it. And we see if this performs better than the first one. And what are the results? Oh, it didn't. So this was actually an inconclusive test. We never reached statistical significance. But changing out the number of responses in that template actually led to a 2.9% decline. And if we were to roll this out site-wide, we would expect, about a 3% traffic loss. So we took this, we learned from it, and we reverted it back, and we changed it up back to the way it was, and generally saw traffic return to those queries. So that didn't work out. So if that happens, you want to try again. So experiment number 2. How about in this case? So we'll leave the SEO Q&A alone. There's no way to tell if this question has been answered or not, or solved. So Craig Brad, we had another idea and say, so if the question is solved, let's put that at the front of the title tag. Maybe that will entice people to click a little bit more, because if it's solved, hey, that's awesome. So how did this result turn out? We tested again across hundreds or thousands of URLs, and one in one bucket and the other we kept the same, and we could compare those two. How did this one turn out? Booyah! 7.1% uplift when we added solve to the front of the title. That is amazing. And this is just one test. This is one tweak of a template with one idea. We had to test 2 different things to get it right, and we could have tested 10 different things and keep going. And so we get 7.1% uplift. We roll this out across the entire site. Again, how many links would it take to get a 7.1% uplift? So this was a successful test. So then we wanted to experiment with removing boilerplate. So what do I mean by boilerplate? Boilerplate is the parts of your titles that repeat over and over again. In this title tag, keyword-driven personas, it's a blog post. Whiteboard Friday, that's the category, Moz. So in this case, Whiteboard Friday and Moz are the boilerplate. So we thought, what if we removed Whiteboard Friday? Do we need that in there? We can make the title shorter and see if that works a little better. So what happened when we removed Whiteboard Friday from our title tags in these A/B split test? 21% uplift. 21%. That is that's kind of a unicorn result. You don't see that sort of result. Why did that happen? We don't exactly know. Was it, does it rank better? Are people clicking on it because it's a more readable font? We don't know. All we know is it resulted in 21% more traffic. So we rolled this out across the entire site. Yes, we had a winning idea. So we got a little cocky. Here. If we remove Whiteboard Friday, how about we remove our brand name in the title? So we've already removed the category. We have this Moz at the end of every title tag. What if we remove that? Is that really necessary? So we rolled out a big daring experiment. Let's remove our brand from everything. Will we see the same results as we saw when we removed Whiteboard Friday? And we were pretty confident because we had a 21% uplift in the last test. Sad trombone sound. 3.8% decline. It did not work the same. It was inconclusive. We never reached statistical significance, but it was trending down. This test didn't work as well. So what's the answer here? Is there a general rule? Always remove your brand or your boilerplate or not? Nope. The only answer is you need to test. But I do have some general tips on when to include boilerplate and when to not to. One thing you can do is search in Google Search Console for the brand or boilerplate that you're thinking of removing. So in this case, if I were to go into Search Console and filter for just keywords that contain the word Moz, which was the keyword at the end of our title tag, I can see how many pages and queries that's generating. And in this case, Moz is a huge keyword. It's hundreds of thousands of queries for us, and so many different pages rank. Literally thousands of pages on our site rank for different variations of Moz. Moz Keyword Explorer, Moz Link Explorer, blah, 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 blah. So that's a huge branded keyword. That's an indication to us that we may want to include it on all our site titles. And you'll find the same with Amazon and other big brands. When we do the same for Whiteboard Friday, the results are markedly different. The vast majority of clicks and pages that when people Google Whiteboard Friday, it's only going to 1 or 2 pages. And they generally land on the Whiteboard Friday page. For all our other Whiteboard Friday pages, even though they're very popular pages, people aren't including that as a keyword. It's a branded result, but only 1 page. So that tells us it's not that important to include it on all the pages. It's wasted boilerplate. So that's kind of a general rule. If people aren't searching for your boilerplate, you may consider removing it and seeing what happens and what kind of results you have. On the other hand, people are looking for it, you probably want to keep it in. So I ran a bunch of other tests as well, and honestly, I don't have time to share them all. But I've run dozens of title tag tests over the last years. I want to show you the results of a few of them. A couple of notes: these had no search pilot involvement, so they're not quite as rigorous. These were very small scale, 20 to 50 URLs each, and I don't have all the math behind it. And so it's slightly less scientific, but still valid, and we can still learn from them. So I like to try a lot of different things with titles. So one of the tests I did were emojis. Emojis are very popular. So I took a bunch of URLs and I threw emojis in them. And I found Google's pretty strict about emojis. If you use a little metal one, it shows up almost all the time, whether or not you have it in the content or not. And I tried this. 3.8% decline. Did not work. The Moz audience does not care for emojis, apparently. But a word of warning, I've tried this in other verticals, in the shopping space and things like that, and I've actually seen a significant increase. So again, going back to the rule, there are no guaranteed results. You have to test it for your space and your vertical. In this case, people maybe thought the emojis looked a little spamming. Numbers. So I took a bunch of URLs, whatever they were, and I just made sure to add a number. We hear that numbers are noticeable. They allow a mental shortcut for us. So I just took a bunch of URLs and added numbers, 6.8% gain. And generally, I think numbers are one of the easiest ways. Hacks, adding dates, numbers, things like that, because they make you notice. And it's not always easy to add numbers, but when you can, sometimes it does work out. In this particular case, we saw about a 7% gain. One thing that always works no matter what, and this is not a specific to a test, is finding the relevant keywords. And this is something that I think so many people decline. They know the keyword they want to rank for, but they don't always include that keyword. They're not looking at the broad range of keywords. So what I like to do, the number one tip that I always have for everybody is once you publish the content and have a few months worth of data, go back into Search Console and see what's actually ranking for your keyword, because Google will give you all that. So if our site, the Moz Top 500 Websites, I can go into Search Console here and see hundreds or thousands of queries that I'm actually ranking for. The question is, how do I make sense of this data? Because I want to find word frequencies. I want to find what's n-grams, the repeating words. So there's a number of processes I use to make sense of this data. We're working on some advanced solutions at my software company. I'm not plugging it. I'm just telling you, we think about this problem a lot. One of the simple things that I do is use n-grams. And Ryan Jones, great SEO, he has this n-gram viewer. I just export that data from Search Console, and maybe it's hundreds of keywords, and I insert it into this tool here. You can find it at seodataviz.ngram, and I can start to make sense of the keywords that people are using to find my page in this site. In this case, it's websites, top websites, things like that, and making sure that I use the keywords, in my title tag. So I went through and I wanted to practice some of the things that I preached in this webinar. I went through and I took a bunch of Moz URLs and I forced myself to audit and try to improve every single one of them with some of the same techniques that we talked about here today, using the keywords, using numbers, things like that. And I don't have time to walk you through all the process, but for this case study across the URLs, saw a 15% gain. And I think that's great. And I think that's something that everybody should be including in their SEO audits, because 15% traffic, that's free traffic. That's money in the bank. So this is what I want to tell you. Go optimize. That rainbow, those are your titles. And at the end of your titles, your title rainbow, that is your click-through rate gold. And I think SEO should be fun, and I think we should experiment. And I hope you learned something today. It was great connecting with you, and feel free to hit me up on Twitter anytime. And we're gonna go from here. So thanks for watching this portion of the webinar. Cheers, everyone.